Welcome to my Conquest Monthly Update session. In this episode, I'm going to review updates from January 2026 that went into effect a couple of weeks ago. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. I'm Paul Bethel, financial planning consultant based in Halifax, and I help advisors build better plans in less time. Please subscribe to this channel, or you can find me on LinkedIn and give me a follow there. Back to the update. As you can see, I'm in my sample client scenario for John and Jane sample. And as a reminder, upper left corner, go to the hamburger icon, support and resources, and you can find the knowledge base and view what's new for January 2026. Here are the table of contents. Now, as you can see, there's a few items here on this list. I'm going to focus on the top 3 that I think you need to know about, starting with SAM to BAS strategy conversion. Let's hop in and take a look. So if I go here, so SAM, Strategic Advice Manager, aka the AI engine in the software, you have the ability now to convert to a BAS strategy, meaning build a strategy. So the build a strategy is a great feature within the software. It gives you full and total control over things. Sometimes you have one-off scenarios that don't quite fit the mold and you need to make some adjustments. You want to dial in some of the nuances of things that aren't available if you're in expert planning mode using the strategies already built on the left-hand side for you. So what this does, it allows you to take those SAM strategies, prefabricated or prefabbed as I like to say, and convert them into a build a strategy. So this is a nice enhancement. It gives us a little more flexibility and ability to make adjustments and the refinements as I mentioned a moment ago. And let's head over to Conquest and we're going to take a closer look at that. So back to my sample scenario here. And when we're in the planning tab, this feature is available. Okay, so as you can see, I'm in expert planning mode. So I have all the strategies on the left. These are what I refer to as those prefabbed strategies. Okay, and this new feature, what it's done, as you can see, I've applied a few on the right-hand side to help my client scenario improve it. And you can see the one here is save an additional $1,200 a month for their retirement goal. Okay, so what this feature is, it allows us in the bottom left here of this strategy to convert to the build a strategy. Okay, and there's also the details. I can open that up and get a few more details on when the start date is, or I have additional controls there. But let's take a look at the conversion option to convert to the build a strategy. As you can see here, I've got the strategy title, which is already filled out and populated for me, the reason why, and we have the ability to add the to-do description in here. We can also adjust the owner and the due date. And a little farther down, we can in fact make some additional adjustments in our build a strategy feature. But down here, here's that prefab strategy that pulls in automatically. So in this scenario, it's recommending the $1,200 a month be optimized between $1,000 for Jane to her TFSA, $100 for John and his RSP, and then create a spousal RSP account for John beginning monthly savings of $100. Okay, so that suggestion based on Sam's recommendation is optimized based on the data I've entered into the plan, the client scenario, okay? So it's taking a look at the client's incomes, it's looking at and assessing their overall tax situation. So that's how it's determining how to direct the $1,200 a month, split between these different accounts. So I can leave it as is, but with this new conversion ability, or I was going to say privileges, yes, it is a privilege, I think, we can add a to-do, okay? So maybe we want to add some additional things. Let's say we want to add something specifically for maybe a non-reg account, just for something else. I'm just going to show you how this works. So we're going to go to change data, typical build a strategy workflow here. We're going to go to client data, and maybe I want to go into the accounts, and let me just review the accounts. I can't remember what I had here. Yeah, this account, the non-registered. I'm just going to set up an additional savings here. Okay, so I'm just going to put $100 a month, for example, start a plan year. I'll just leave the defaults ending at retirement. I'm going to hit close. Okay, so that little red dot there is signifying the adjustment or change I made within the build strategy. And I come back here and we can see that item listed. There it is, the build strategy up here to that account. which is just above the other prefab ones here, okay? So I can add an action item, so save $100 per month to non-reg. As an example, I can add some more details. I can assign an owner, so we're going to say specifically John's going to do that. And the due date for that implementation, I'm going to say it's going to be next week on Friday, for example, okay? And so I'm going to add the to-do, and there it's going to populate and be added to the to-do preview. So we can see, we can scroll through the different to-dos, okay? And there's my note that I adjusted and added. So with this feature, this gives us a little more control. It gives us the ability to layer in additional to-dos or strategies within the overall build a strategy. I would just caution you to be careful when doing this, especially for people just getting used to the software, because the more you layer into this build a strategy, the more convoluted it can become. And sometimes it can get a little tangled and you have to track things and make sure things are lining up properly and referencing the audit reports. So to keep it simple, just make sure you don't layer in too much. That would be my recommendation to consider, okay? So now I've made my adjustments. I can add additional to-dos or additional notes if I want to. I'm not going to in this demo here. I'm just going to click on convert to sort of finalize that conversion, X out, and now on the right-hand side we can see the save additional $1,200 a month. It has been converted to the build a strategy, and note here we have the tools crisscrossing signifying the build a strategy for reference. Okay, so when you go back into the plan, you can quickly at a glance identify which is the build a strategy and which are the other strategies listed there. So that pretty much sums up that SAM to build a strategy conversion option. I'm going to move on to the second most important thing I think you should know about from this monthly update, and that's with regards to the lifelong learning plan. Let's head back to my notes here. I'll go back to the top, and the lifelong learning plan is fully implemented now in our Conquest software, which is amazing. I've come across this a couple of times, not a whole lot in my 4 years of using the software, but every once in a while, I thought, it'd be nice to have that feature. Thank you, Conquest, for including this now. So it follows all the rules around the LLP with regards to making, setting a goal for someone to pay for their education goal for themselves, for their spouse or common law partner, as you can see here. And it follows all the guidelines as far as the amounts you can withdraw per year, the total maximum for $20,000, and also the repayment requirements, okay? So you can see it will occur the first, to begin 5 years after the first withdrawal or 2 years after the education program ends, okay? So this is a nice feature. Let's head over to Conquest really quickly. I'll show you how this works. So there's a couple of ways you can illustrate this. You can illustrate it as setting an education goal, which I have here. So I'll just scroll down to my education goal and show you there. So some of the features. So I've set the education expense for John occurring starting next year, next September. I put in for 2 years and the cost is $10,000 per year. Note the little toggle down below. You have to turn this off. The default, it will stay to no, but if it's for a mature student, obviously, I want to toggle that on to yes. So in this example, I can plan or illustrate showing how John can achieve this goal to pay for his education, maybe going to a master's degree or a doctorate or who knows, or something else, right? So I can now plan for that, set the goal, and plan for it and apply strategies for the withdrawals. Now to do that, I can do it a couple of ways. I can do it as an apply strategy, but just to show you here what kind of strategies I might apply, it's with regards to the transactions. So if I go to the transactions card, I can pick up John's RSP account, I can add a transaction, and I can do and set a withdrawal. Now the destination here, it defaults to cash flow, but I want to make sure I choose that education goal that I set. And notice when I do that, the LLP withdrawal toggle appears. Okay, and I can set the withdrawal and I can set the amount, the frequency, and when that's going to start. Likely I would start it next year, obviously. So that's how I can set a strategy or a transaction to make withdrawals to help pay for that goal that I've set. Okay, now on the flip side, let's say he's already done this and I want to illustrate the repayment to the LLP. Well, I can do that the main way would be up here. Just to note the plan settings up here. I want to go to the starting tax values and just note down here below, underneath the home buyer's plan repayment, we now have a section called lifelong learning plan. Okay, so we can signify the balance owing and when the repayments will start. Okay, so I can line that up nicely for the development of a repayment schedule. And then also, if I go to the accounts card and I could set in the RSP account, I can go into more data, add a savings, and notice if I do a reoccurring, I do have this additional toggle now you can see for the LLP repayment. So some great planning opportunities there that we can now illustrate with regards to the LLP, which I love it. So it's great. So happy planning with regards to that. And thirdly, the final thing that I think you need to be aware of from this monthly update is with regards to the report section. I really love it. I'm not sure if you see it right here, but I've also already implemented it because remember on the graphs we have the timeline down below and it defaults to the calendar years. And I would always sometimes say like, how old is he in 2033? I had to sort of do the math in my head. Well, now I have controls. If I go into this little toggle here, more options or panel options, and you can see the horizontal axis. Remember it defaults to years? Well, I toggled on the client ages and there we go, it's there. But I can revert back if I want to go back to the years. There you go. You see the years populate down below. So this is probably one of my favorite features for the month of January 2026. That little toggle there, it just makes my life a lot easier and I don't have to do the math in my head of how old is he in this future date. Anyway, it's those little things that sometimes I'm really thankful for. So anyways, obviously I'm a Conquest nerd. I hope you found this session useful and beneficial. For those of you who stuck it through to the end, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Please like this video if you got something out of it. And remember, subscribe, follow me on LinkedIn or find me there. I sometimes share some tips on that side as well. So enjoy the rest of your day and happy planning. Thank you.